Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nexus Commentary. Tonight, I'm going to do a little bit of a VOD review, and I'm going to explain why I think Lieutenant Morales makes a halfway decent offlaner, which probably right away raises a lot of questions about why you would even want that. Basically, it's for Medevac. Medevac is potentially probably just the most underrated ult in the entire game. It is a lot of times you're only seeing it for Juice Pirates, but it has a lot of value outside of Juice Pirates for the rotation ability of having 5 in-sync globals, potentially up to 5. You could do less than 5 if you want to split up the team a little bit. You could do all 5. You could do just Morales if you're going to move that in. So I got a little bit of a VOD review where we can go over that, and then I'll explain the whole build and how everything comes together and where my thought process was for every instance of it. Feel free to ask questions and I'll try to answer them when I see them as well in the chat. So I'll go ahead and pull up the replay here. There we go. So this is the drafts that we're using. This is what I think is closest. We're still trying to flush out what the rest of the comp is supposed to look like. We're still flexing the healer route. We're still flexing some DPS options. But we have Johanna Morales, Raynor Gul'dan, and then we're running Deckard this game. On the other side, they're running Zarya, Ragnaros, Diablo, Vala, and Ariel. So a little bit more of a sustain comp on their side as well. So it's a little bit of a sustain versus sustain game this time around. I think the Deckard offers some nice CC options as well. So I'm just going to actually click on Heroes. I think there's a way to get it to just go ahead and follow my camera around. So, right off the bat, I haven't picked it yet, but I'm going to go ahead and pick up the auto attack talent here at level 1. Because I think it is just her best option when she's going the solo lane. Grenade build isn't completely unviable, just kind of stack up very slowly. Then you get a lot of displacement options later on in the game. The other options as well are, I don't really see W as being an option at level 1, unfortunately, just because you're not going to get as much value in the solo lane with it in most situations. But I do like the auto attack one because the extra range also lets you play a little bit safer. So I'm in the middle, and then I'm going to immediately basically rotate out. There's not really much there for me to do in the middle, comparatively to coming up here, landing that first grenade, starting that wave clear option. Her wave clear is a little low, but the option isn't to push. You're picking her, she basically stalls lane, and this is how. Her ability to heal minions still, not only does it let you tank minion waves, but it also gives you the option to actually tank. Minions will heal through most hero DPS. We'll see here in a second. See, she can't clear that minion. As long as I have energy, she couldn't clear that minion. I'm even getting ganked here by Vala. She's going to pop armor and walk away. How far back she's able to sit in the lane a lot of times is really good. So we call out the fact that they now actually have 3 people top. I'm going to go ahead and throw my beam on this a little bit. Try to keep it at full health. This is going to slow down their push. I'm not going to be able to stop 2 of them from pushing, which is why we go ahead and rotate up 2 more here. But I am able to stop 1 person from pushing, so that's something. So we're just going to stay here. We're going to try to figure out. Meanwhile, Zarya actually does rotate to the middle lane. You can't really see because I'm showing my POV on this. But I'm just kind of sitting here right now. Up to 90 auto attack damage right now, which is nice because with that extra range I can harass a little bit. Grenade is really a lot of my wave clear options for this, and I'm not trying to hard push again. I'm really just looking to stall the lane out as much as I can. My push is minions, so that's why if there's no one here, I'm going to go ahead and kind of flex the beam around a little bit more instead of just trying to focus on one. They go ahead and have Valariel show back up here. They're doing a little bit of a double soak here with that. Zarya and Diablo are now all the way in the bot lane, so there's that as well. So, I mean, I'm really just sitting here, not really doing much. This is kind of the early game with this comp, or well, with the medic, is you're just kind of sitting here freezing the lane as much as you can. Try to keep them from pushing. You're eating some damage. Here at level 4, I'm going to go ahead and pick up Blast Shield, which seems weird because I didn't go in Grenade at 1. But the reason for it is I can get some extra shielding off of the enemy offlaner before I rotate anywhere. So we did the camp, but we didn't actually cap it yet. But that's really why I've been taking this. It's up to 6% of your max health, extra health that you can build up.
Gather tribute and earn
some extra energy is always good as well. And then the shield lasts indefinitely, so you can stack it in the offlane if you're not taking poke damage, and then rotate into the objective pretty efficiently while still having it. So we're going to see the first objective here. It takes about 18 seconds to rotate across the whole map on Cursed Hollow. Right now, we're going to actually cut that time down later on. But, so I'm going to go ahead and head out to it right now. And we're going to see how it ends up going here. So we're going to show up. I did grenade the mid wave for a little bit of extra. We actually see Diablos in the top lane, pushing up. I call out the Ballas behind us. A lot of what I'm trying to do is either heal the tank or heal Gul'dan in this situation. I can heal Gul'dan so you can just free to tap, or I can heal the tank to make it really hard to push past that. So I'm also going to be our channeler in a lot of situations as well. So I'm going to go ahead and heal Gul'dan a little. Decker's able to focus in on the rest of the team. I can focus in on him, allowing him to tap as much as he wants. I get interrupted. You go ahead and try his channel again, and interrupted again. You can go ahead and start healing up the tank a little bit. So that's really where a lot of her heals wants to be going. She wants to heal the tank if she can. She'll heal other members if she has to, but ideally she's trying to focus in on the tank. Or the Gul'dan. Gul'dan allows him to freely tap a lot more. On the tank allows the tank to just play super aggro in their face, because you can give armor, you can give the health as well. We go ahead and get the first cap. I'm just going to have to leave right now, because I am the offlaner, so this is my job to get all the XP as I can. Our camp for the top lane is still doing very well. I'm able to pick up the potions that are left in mid. So here at 7, this is probably the most flexible talent for this build. Really, any of the options can work. Sometimes you just want extra duration because you're just taking poke in the offlane or something. You just need a little bit of extra duration. It takes up to about 4.5 seconds of armor. If they have a lot of stuns or roots, obviously this talent's super good. Puts it up to 55 armor and pauses the duration while they're under it. So mouth root, mosh pit, things like that. Long CC options like that. Thrall root could also be good. So she can't heal the minion, or kill the minion that I'm healing, so she's forced to come aggro on me, and I can just go in and out. I saw the vault, so I'm gonna walk away, and as soon as I see the vault, again, I just pop the armor. They miss the whip, but even if they land it, I get out there. I'm just safe. She's really hard to gank because of that range and how far back she can stand, as well as the ability just to instantly give herself 35 armor. And a lot of times she does sit at full health in the landing phase. I'm trying to catch as much XP as I can. I know I'm gonna be a little bit late, but trying to make sure my wave doesn't get hard pushed in meanwhile. And the last option at 7 was the remove slows, which is, it's really solid. It's just the minus CDR on it, as well as the anti-slow, so things against like Jaina, like a lot of heroes that continuously put slows on you. That's where that talent's gonna shine. So really, Tier 7 is pretty flexible in this. I'm gonna go ahead and start healing a Wipeout a little bit. Again, trying to put it on the front line. Then I switch over to Gul'dan. He's able to tap up as well. Meanwhile, Wipeout's going to be pushed out. Wipeout's going to actually fall here because we got 2 separated there. But a good root from Deckard's going to actually keep us in this for a little bit. Again, I'm able to just keep the healing on whoever I want for the most part. I have 2 different talents for energy generation, so my ability to sustain the beam for long periods of time is really, really good in the team fight situations with Grenade and Autos both giving me energy for that. Which is also important in the offlane to be able to have lots of extra energy generation, because if you're trying to heal a minion, sometimes because of how long it takes you to clear, against the more high clearing offlaners, you're going to have to sustain one minion for basically the entire time between waves. So we're able to reset here. Gul'dan's able to again push up a little bit. Johanna's back, so she's in the middle of them. I might be able to cleanse off, or add the extra armor to the stun a little bit. Give her some extra healing, make sure she's topped off all the time. Nothing's really going on here. I am shifting to watch it though. Deckard's out of mana, so we do have to watch that. So what we do here, which is a pretty aggressive play, and we know they're down 1, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate the lane to make sure we get some XP, and then we're going to have the rest of them go on the boss, but we're going to send Deckard back so we can get mana. Potentially, I think I could have stayed with the group here until Deckard got back, just to make sure they had a healing option if they got invaded. We are pretty confident they weren't. Obviously, my 10 talent is going to be medevac because that was the whole purpose of this. They luckily weren't invaded, so I wasn't needed there. I was trying to secure that level 10 as fast as I can. I am checking the boss. Going to go ahead and rotate down because now I have medevac, so I want to stay grouped as much as I can, so I can global as many heroes as I can, and that's really where this starts to come into play. So we have an option. We can either jump to their boss, or we can push with ours and then jump to the objective. So we choose to push theirs because we know they aren't on it yet. We're going to fly directly over them. That tells us not to start the boss, but instead to position up to engage them as soon as they show up. And that's exactly what we do. As soon as they show their faces, we just engage on them because we were able to get in front of them and position for that. The big fear coming out as well. So we're just going to separate here. Meanwhile, our boss is pushing bot lane. The objective spawning soon. They're able to rotate around position for this as well. We have a lot of options of what we can do, and that's the option we chose this time around. And I'm just going to keep repositioning here, just potentially trying to heal whoever I can. I mean, Deckard's going to do his sleep there. I'm going to go ahead and heal him up so that they can't kill him through it. I'm going to again be the one person that rotates back to channel because they're not really needed in the team fights like much. They've already built a strong 4-man, so if I'm there, it's just extra on top of it, and I'm not super needed. And that's one of the keys to this as well, is having that really strong 4-man that can just fight without that that 5th person as often as possible. Here I'm able to go in the mid lane. I'm just going to top off my minions. They're not really going to take much damage here. I'm really just keeping the beam on that. I don't need to. I just was. Here again, we'll see in a second how the Zarya's forced to just ignore what I'm healing. She can't clear it, so she's clearing everything else right now, which also happens to be the largest group. I walk forward past her and just clear her wave off because it is under curse, so it's all get 1 health. Stack a little bit off her again, but she's getting pretty low here because of all the minion damage. She's actually forced to ult in case someone's rotating in from that side flank, because they were in top lane. They weren't. I also have medevac, so as soon as if they hard engage on my team, I can be there. I can walk up there and we can all get out, which end up being similar to what we end up doing. So we're actually pushing keep here already. I'm going to go on Diablo. He's the overpower, but even if he lands it, it's not that big of a deal. So here at 13, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the cooldown on Grenade. More energy, more shielding in combat. It's pretty good. Don't really need either of these. Like, the extra damage on shields isn't even worth it most of the time. This System Shock is sometimes worth it if they have a big combo they're trying to pull off to try to deny the combo. We can go on their boss here because we are up 13 talents. We're able to heal everyone's back up. We're able to make sure the boss they have full mana again. So we have a lot of options here. And if they do hard engage on us and we end up in a position we don't want to be here anymore, we can just medevac out. We can just leave whenever we want. That's one of the powers of medevac. Is not only can you show up wherever you want, you can just kind of leave wherever you want if they're able to burn it instantly. Here we're going to grab the boss, and before they have a chance to do anything, we're going to rotate all the way to the bruiser camp across the map. The speed of the rotations this gives us as 5 allows us to put on a lot of extra map pressure. Normally this rotation would take about 12 seconds, we did it in about 6. So that's half the time, that's 6 extra seconds that we're able to spend doing the bruiser camp instead. We're also going to go ahead and, because we're so far ahead, we know they're all top, we now have the bruiser camp, we know that they're nowhere close, we're going to go ahead and just invade their siege camp here. I'm calling how the medevac cooldown is because that is our primary retreat option in a lot of situations. But we again don't need it because they're also needing the top lane. We already have bruiser camp pushing out. If medevac was up, we would have just medevac to our siege camp or something. So we're going to just put posture here around it. A little indecisive about whether we're going to stay or not. We end up going from mid a little bit, but some people went into bot, so we're not able to hard engage to anything. But we're not really in that much issue either because we see that they have some bot as well, and we again are super sustaining with the Johanna plus the Morales there in that lane. We should actually do it. We're going to be pulling off a couple more times later on. I'll point that out as that goes on. Again, Deckard Root actually did a lot of value there. I'm able to just put my healing on Raynor there so they can't really go on him. I'm able to top the other healer back off. Having the second healer option is a lot like that. Now I can put it on the Gul'dan, who's able to full tap, and then he's going to just get all his health back pretty quickly. We also got sword reset on Diablo. Objective response, this is one of the ones I would change. We just got 2 kills. We have all 5. We're all in good shape. I'm in global. I could have just medevaced out and then channel the objective on my own, similar like an Abathur or Dahako probably, or a Falstad would have done in this situation. Or I could have walked there and medevac back. By the time that the enemy spawned, it would have been pretty close. So this is one of the plays I would change if I did this again today, or if I was playing this exact same game, as I wouldn't have put 4 in here. We ended up only putting 4. Johanna decided that she wanted to go bot and get some stuff there because she realized it faster than the rest of us did that they didn't have everyone there. So we really didn't need everyone. Maybe if Bruiser Camp or Boss was up, maybe rotating that many people there would have been a better call. but it wasn't needed at that time. And of course at 16, you're just going to take increased healing, beam distance. I really don't feel like either of these others are ever worth it. I know that there's sometimes where like this one's pretty strong in the right circumstances. They have their flex picks, but just having the extra range for when someone gets flipped out of position or when someone wants to dive super deep. This Johanna was a feeder this game, but we're able to rotate around. We're going to do a safe rotation onto their bruiser camp here, as we don't quite have medevac just yet, but we're behind them. Johanna's in front of them a little bit, so we're able to just kind of position around. We'll go ahead and just clean up the camp instantly, showing just how close we were to being catching up on that, and if medevac is up for it, because which is another reason it's not having medevac to that last one. Here's another objective spawning, this time boss is also up. I'm going to go ahead and poke them out here though. I'm positioning around to look for the medevac if I need to, but also stay close enough that I can heal if needed. So we go ahead and engage on them here because they grouped up, and there was a big just bunch of ultis. We were able to press R basically in sync pretty well. Lurag's able to go down, Corey's able to get up. Meanwhile, cooldown's being aggroed onto by Diablo, so I can pop both buttons on him. And then I'm just going to ulti out because I know we're going to land that. Which is another instance we didn't need to leave here. They were down 4. They were down top keep. We could have potentially ended. So this is another one where I've mistaken. I could have like medevaced us across the keep to save that damage, but I really didn't need to medevac us out here. So that's another instance of what I would change. So it's some of these late game medevacs that I would adjust slightly. And this is still, remember, level 10 medevac, which is 60 seconds cooldown. At level 20, it goes down to 30 seconds, so you're able to global a lot more. So at that point, we would have had medevac up to catch the reserve. We would have had a lot more rotational options. We do burn the boss super fast, so it's not like this the worst call. It's not like we went for a siege camp. We didn't go for a boss, so it's a game-ending play. It's just not the ending play that we could have made right there. So we're able to go ahead and channel the objective here as well, which is cursed. So again, we probably shouldn't have rotated there. Probably should have just tried for the end. We do have a late game Gul'dan, a late game Raynor. We're able to pick up the siege camp as well here. And they just have to try to figure out how to defend this. They do scout that we're here. Just go ahead and throw out grenades, trying to build up a little extra health before the fight starts. And then we're going to go ahead and push in here as well. Just kind of pushing up, trying to be a nuisance, trying to out-sustain them any chance we have with the best support. They throw Rag up there, and we're able to sustain through, so we just go ahead and fight it. He misses both the players. Mind you, Johanna's too far forward, which is a really aggro play. They go ahead and they go on the cooldown there, so I just put my W on them in case they get a follow-up stun or some sort of advanced shoot. They still have the armor there for a lot of it. Good Zarya ult, really, some of those here, but it's not quite good enough to keep the Raynors alive. They're right down here, they're right down 1. I probably go ahead and pop the armor on myself because then I can't walk out in time and save as much of the shoot as I can. Preserve my health bar as large as I can. And this is just game here. I do the BM medevac across the board. But yeah, that's basically what it is. It's really just that large rotational ability that you can get off of it. It's really a large part of this comp comes from is if one global, like the Haka for instance, it can be super highly contested and it can be considered super strong, then how good is 5 globals in sync? And that's the important part. You can go overboard with globals, and if they have to stagger there, or if they're not showing up all at once, but if they're all in sync, showing up at the exact same time, you can just rotate right onto the enemy team sometimes and just pop out. Like, a global Johanna is pretty strong. So we're going to go ahead and take a look real quick at Morales here. It is medevac. For up to 10 seconds, you have to wait at least 4 after creating medevac before you can fly anywhere. Keep that in mind if you're trying to use the defensive medevac. So I go ahead and go Claudius feedback because I think the auto attack range lets you play safer, as well as the energy generation in lane is super good. You can go this, but you're going to stack up pretty slow because you are in the off lane. I don't feel like you get any life support is normal if you're in the 4-man, but if you're in the solo lane, I just don't feel like you get enough value off of it. At 4, I mean, you can really go any of these talents if you need to. I opt for Blast Shield because the shield lasts infinitely, so you can stack up a little extra health while in the off lane, make yourself a little bit tankier for when you show up to fights. If they try to gank you, or if they try to catch you out on a rotation, you have that little extra health there to help out. compared to using energy. I really don't care for this one personally. I know a lot of people go for it. It's definitely a solid talent. I just don't play that talent that often. I think any 7 is viable in the right situations. You really just kind of figure out what CCs they have, or if they just don't have any, you just pick the talent that corresponds to what they do. 10 is medevac because that's the whole point, and that is super underrated. 13, I generally go for second opinion. Just the CDR on it is pretty solid. Only 2 seconds on grenade if you're able to hit 2 or more heroes with it, which based on blast shield gives you more energy as well as gives you more health in fights if you need it. System shock is not bad either. If they're a full combo team, you can get this, try to shut down their combo, survive through that a little bit more. EMP grenade, even if they have a shielding hero like you just saw versus Zarya, I don't think it's usually worth it to pick that up. 16, I feel like has extended care every single time. Not that these other talents aren't pickable in the right situations, but allowing your team to extend a little bit farther while playing safer. Anytime you can play safer, that's more valuable to your team because they don't have to worry about protecting you as much. And then at 20, it is reinforcements, mostly for the passive attribute, which is dropping the cooldown from 60 to 30. So just get your team around as often as possible. The more your team globals, the better, really, in the late game, because of that global, like the constant map pressure across the whole board. And if they go for something like a boss, at any point you could just show up and kill a building because you global there. You could go in for you can go for your own boss. You could jump in on top of them when they're going for boss. So that's 5. You just instantly respawn and just dive them as 5. So I really feel like a lot of that is undervalued in the game. The ability to global is 5, but then I don't feel like she's strong enough to be a 4-man healer. I feel like she lacks some of that burst healing that's really needed right now in the current meta. So as such, you had to figure out a way where to put her to get that all medevac so you can global around and get that positioning advantage constantly, but not give up your strong 4-man. So you build a strong 4-man that doesn't really need their 5th that often, and then you pick up Morales and you're going to be able to sustain instead of trying to sustain with healing, instead of trying to sustain with tankiness. You get a little displacement, a little bit of armor, a little healing, and then she's also able to freeze the wave against almost every character in the game because most people can't kill a minion, including most meta offlaners can't kill a single minion if she's pocket healing it. So she's able to sustain that minion to deny pushing, which means if they're not pushing into you, she's free to just sit there and soak the wave at her leisure. And that's really the whole purpose of this kind of off-lane Morales playstyle that I am looking at and trying to make work as best I can. It worked that game. It looked pretty strong. Honestly, I feel like, yeah, there's mistakes on our part, rotating too many people here and there, but a little bit of practice on it, a little bit of figuring out how many to send, where to send them, how often to send people, will clean up a lot of that. And for a relatively new strategy, I think it could be a new interesting take on how to play the game. So that's what I got. So thank you for coming out to the Nexus commentaries for my explanation of why I think Solo Lane Morales might be a little bit trickier and something that might surprise some people in the future that you could pick up. It's hard to pull her off in a solo queue game, but if you got a solid 4 or 5 stack, you should be able to do it pretty well with a load of practice. If you want to see more random things like this, you can follow us on Twitter for updates. You can follow the channel as well. There's also YouTube, and that's where this video will be heading to next. Thank you all for coming out, and we'll see you next time in the Nexus.